On this week's episode of the WNP podcast, is the GOAT hanging up the cleats? Stay tuned. Episode 131 of the We're Not Professionals podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and joining me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. Chase, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty swell. As Graham's staring at me, making me uncomfortable. Thank you for asking, though. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, and unfortunately, you are correct. Graham is with us today, so the fan favorite George the Giraffe not going to be on this episode. You've got very big shoes to fill, Graham. How you feeling?
A giraffe do have big feet. I'll try my very best. It's great to be here, guys.
Okay, so since George isn't here, can you make your personal giraffe noises? What?
I think you nailed it. I think it was spot on. Well, anyway, on today's episode of the We're Not Professionals podcast, going to be talking... Whoa, my mic went psycho mode there. Going to be talking about Tom Brady and his future. Is he done in the NFL? We'll be talking about that very soon. Going to be talking about Ben McAdoo getting hired by the Panthers. Talking this past week of football, the divisional round. Was it the best weekend in football? Debatable for sure. OT discussion, because the OT rules will be brought up in that discussion of this past week's games. And then, of course, we got to preview the upcoming conference championships. There's only 4 teams remaining. One of those teams being my Cincinnati Bengals. I had to get all decked out.
I also had to get decked out. Both broadcast.
That's
a
elite.
Listen.
That's true. Elite. Had to get decked out in my Bengals gear. So let's start with Brady news. There has been a lot more questioning from him himself than there has been in past years. Most of the time, in the past couple of years, when he's asked, he's like, I want to play until 50. And now he comes out and he says, you know, it's going to be a big family decision. I'm taking some time to figure it out. I'm going to, you know, see what my family wants and everything. And I just think it would suck right now if he retired.
Yeah, you know, you would like to celebrate a person as they're going out, especially someone that could still play, like Tom Brady could. You know, Ben Roethlisberger really couldn't play anymore. We still got to celebrate him going out. Where, you know, if Tom Brady comes back for one more year and says, this is it, I'm done, then you can, you know, have your final home game celebration, whatever, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But either way, you know, that happens very rarely for athletes. Most athletes, it's like this. Their season just ends. They don't win a championship, and they got to retire. That's just the way it goes. So if it is, then I guess it is what it is. But yeah, sure, you'd like to see something a little more spectacular. But it really feels like he's leaning that way this year because he's never really spoken like this in the offseason when it comes to retirement. Just the way he's phrasing things, the way he's kind of carrying himself, it seems way too like sad and depressing almost. I think he's done. I really do.
Well, you said most athletes. Tom is not most athletes. He's
the GOAT. You struggled saying most athletes there.
Most athletes.
There we go.
See, it's easy because Tom Brady is
the GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
There you go.
Yeah. Graham, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted out yesterday that there was a quote that came out from a podcast that he was on. He said, speaking about his wife, it pains her to see me get hit out there, and she deserves what she needs from me as a husband, and my kids deserve what they need from me as a dad. And I feel like we haven't heard that kind of rhetoric from Tom Brady in any other offseason. I mean, we have no idea what the NFL is going to look like. We were like 2 or 3 years old when he got drafted. We don't know what the NFL looks like without Tom in it. So if he retires this year, which to me it sounds like is a real possibility, it is going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
Insane.
He was drafted in 2000, wasn't he?
2000, yeah.
So you were like a year old. I was about 2 years old.
Yeah.
Mike was like just under 2.5. Yeah.
So we don't know what the NFL looks like without Tom Brady in it.
Literally our whole lives.
Yeah.
I want to see one last hurrah. Tom Brady goes back to the Patriots.
Oh.
No. If Tom Brady really wants to be the GOAT, he needs to sign with the Lions and win a championship with them.
That is true.
That would make him the GOAT.
You think
that
he
would
could?
make him the GOAT.
No.
Like, you guys have a good draft, good offseason. Now, don't make it, like a fantasy offseason because, like, just everything won't hit, But let's say you have a decent offseason, a good offseason, and Tom Brady comes in instead of Jared Goff. You guys make the playoffs at least? Or
I shouldn't say no because, honestly, the Lions make the playoffs next year anyway, especially if Aaron Rodgers is out of the division. Dude, look at the rosters. You're going to have a new coach with the Bears, and Justin Fields is really going to be the only hope of that team doing anything. Minnesota, I think Kirk Cousins is gone, so they're going to have a new quarterback in there. So if they get like an immediate replacement, then sure, but they might not. And then Aaron Rodgers is going to leave. The Packers are going to have Jordan Love on top of, I think next year on their offense for like their weapons, they have, other than the running backs, they have Jordan Love, Amari Rodgers, and Josiah DeGuara, and nobody else signed while being $40 million over the cap. So like they're going to have a hard time trying to figure out what to put together next year. So the Lions might go 8-9 and win the division.
Maybe it could be the NFC East of a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The NFC North could be. Yeah, that's true. I mean, when you were saying that that we're playing at least in the division, a lot of the teams are so much different. But even on top of that, I think it's like 7 or 8 teams that we play next year have a new head coach, which is
that'll help
a lot.
Yeah. So if the Lions if they got Tom Brady, maybe they go 10-7 and win the division, and then get a hot run in the playoffs.
Dude, it's so dumb how the NFL does schedules. They want to make it like competitive and everything, so the lesser teams get to play lesser opponents. I was looking at the Bengals schedule. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? We're gonna regress to 7 wins. We've got so many hard teams. But I think you're sleeping on Kellen Mond and Justin Fields, and especially Jordan Love.
I'm not sleeping on Justin Fields.
The GOAT.
I'm not sleeping on any of them. You see,
The GOAT.
You see how they were talking about Kellen Mond in the season? It's like, don't you want to see Kellen Mond on the field in the season? He's like, no, I see him on the field every day.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
Yeah,
that's not great.
So Brady, he's up in the air. I would hate it if he goes out because I want him to get that celebration like Big Ben did, and he deserves it. And I'm sure he'd get it like in the Hall of Fame and everything. But
you think he's going to the Hall of Fame?
That's maybe second ballot, maybe a second ballot Hall of Famer. But yeah, I think it would stink. All right, let's now talk about the Carolina Panthers. I was going to say Florida Panthers. Hockey on my mind. Yeah. Carolina Panthers, they hire Ben McAdoo as their new offensive coordinator. We know they let go of Joe Brady during the season. Joe Brady being infamous for that LSU Tigers team, being the offensive coordinator over there with Joe Burrow, and they lit the world on fire. It didn't really seem to work out that well with Carolina, so they go ahead and release him. They bring in Ben McAdoo. Do you see this as an upgrade?
I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily an upgrade. I don't know if it's a downgrade. I think it's just kind of the same because the offense looked pretty poor with Joe Brady running it last year. The first couple of games, they were successful. After that, it was just a nightmare. I really don't know how much changes. Ben McAdoo had some success as an offensive coordinator in his past. As a head coach, obviously not great, but he did fine as an offensive coordinator. So I really don't have an issue with the hire, but I also don't think it's like some game-changing, groundbreaking thing.
Yeah, when I saw that he was hired as offensive coordinator for the Panthers, I was with a lot of Panthers fans in not being excited about it, and I saw a lot of Giants fans as well saying, "Sorry, Panthers." Mm-hmm. But like when he was offensive coordinator for the Giants, his offense ranked 10th and 8th in yards in 2014 and 2015. And then when he moved to head coach, his offense ranked 25th in yards and 21st in yards in 2016 and 2017. So and in points even worse than that in 2016 and 2017. So when he was head coach, they really, really struggled on offense. But when he was offensive coordinator, weirdly, they were above average. So I'm not sure what to make of that, but I know that when he got fired, Giants fans breathed a sigh of relief. So I wouldn't say that it's a over-exciting hire for Carolina.
I think it's really a personnel thing with Ben McAdoo because 14 and 15, Odell was, just onto the scene, doing some crazy things, playing great. Eli Manning was still in his prime. And then you see as he takes over for the head coach, it really dips off. Eli Manning there retires only a year or two later. And I just don't see the personnel on the Panthers. Your best player can't stay healthy. You don't have a quarterback. Like, I don't know how much Joe Brady could do with Cam Newton, who's far past his prime, Sam Darnold, who's a turnover machine, and, I mean, at the end, couldn't even throw the ball. He just looked terrible. And then how are you supposed to get it to DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson when you don't have that quarterback? So I think that Joe Brady was trying as hard as he could, but the downfall wasn't necessarily all to blame for him, but really it's a combination of what he couldn't do with the lack of personnel. So I think I personally think it's a downgrade. I don't think McAdoo will be able to do much with the personnel because, one, they can't stay healthy. Two, they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
No, nothing's going to change from what happened with the Panthers this year, so that doesn't really get a downgrade.
Yeah, I think that
if they win less games and have a worse offense, then it is a downgrade.
Well, sure, but it's really not going to be much worse than it was.
we mentioned 2 episodes ago during our segment on what coaches we think need to get fired, we mentioned that Matt Rule needs to take a lot of the blame for the Carolina Panthers completely falling apart from where they started the season off. So I think that there is still a guy in Carolina that needs to go, and that's Matt Rule.
The thing that stinks for me is I'm a big Matt Rule guy. I loved the Carolina Panthers when he got on, and they had so many great draft picks. Brennan and Jeremy Chin, one of my favorite safeties out there. And I personally think that if the Panthers decided to draft Justin Fields rather than J.C. Horn, it would have made the team much more exciting for me. I would love the Panthers even more. I think Joe Brady would still have his job. I think Justin Fields is probably the right pick. And this is no hate towards J.C. Horn because I love J.C. Horn. He was my favorite corner coming out of the draft. I think he's awesome, but that offense just lacks the spark. And Justin Fields, I think, could have brought that if Joe Brady could have molded him in the right way rather than, Matt Nagy stabbing him with a fork. I don't know what Matt Nagy was doing with him. So
yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious that it was the wrong move at the time. Sure, they just traded for Sam Darnold. Sure, they, gave him that 5th-year option, but at the end of the day, you take the best player, you give your team the best chance at succeeding, and taking an elite quarterback that can step up if the one that you're trying to make work doesn't work, that gives you your best chance to succeed. So it really didn't make sense at the time. Looking back, it looks even worse.
All right, well, let's move into the best weekend of football. At least it could be called that because the divisional round was absolutely electric, especially the Sunday. I think the Saturday, not as enticing. One of the games I was almost falling asleep to. The other was my favorite team, the Cincinnati Bengals against the Tennessee Titans. We'll start there because it was the first game. This was a back and forth, a defensive battle, which I didn't expect, if I'm being honest. And Joe Burrow getting sacked 9 times, still able to pull out the victory.
Because Joe Burrow's elite.
He is.
Better than Justin Herbert?
I
know Grant's been dying on the hill of Justin Herbert.
It's 2 different kind of quarterbacks. So
Brady and Rodgers are different.
I know. It's like
you can pick one that's better.
Yeah, I mean the better quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. The better football player is Tom Brady.
How does that work? Because
Aaron Rodgers is as the actual quarterback himself is much better than Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is a better football player in terms of helping his team win. And, knowing proper strategy, how to break down a defense, all this type of stuff. Or in just terms of the actual quarterback itself, those physical types
talent.
of traits, the talent, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's not even close.
I think I'm with you.
See, when I think of better football player, I think like punter and linebacker, and I'm like, well, Aaron Rodgers has more physical ability, so he's really the better football player.
No, the football player,
can play linebacker.
The football player is what helps your team win. I think linebacker. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
And I think it just should be summed up as the best of all time versus the greatest of all time.
The best of all time is Blake Bortles.
No, it's not.
He's the boat.
He's the boat.
The best player is Aaron Rodgers. The greatest player is Tom Brady. There you go. But I just Joe Burrow has I would say, inferior cast. You can disagree with me if you want, but I'm thinking
who?
To Justin Herbert. especially coming into the season, everyone was saying, oh, the Chargers, they should be at least number 2 in their division. The Bengals, last in the division.
The offense, I'm going to heavily disagree on the inferior cast. The defense, sure, you can argue that, but the Chargers defense played horribly this year.
So where would you say you think Mixon's superior to Austin Eckler?
Yeah.
And by how much?
Safely.
I would say Eckler's better.
I think Joe Mixon's safely better than Austin Eckler.
So there's a conversation there. I think the wide receiver core for the Bengals is better, but that doesn't mean the Chargers lack a receiver core with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
No, it's not bad, but it's still, even coming into the year, I thought the Bengals was better.
And then the offensive line heavily favors the Chargers.
Not heavily. They still underwhelmed a bit.
They did.
I guess
they
the
did
guess,
underwhelm, but they
I guess the
are
Bengals.
better.
Yeah, the Bengals' offense line doesn't get much worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The tight end position just doesn't matter. That
No.
both teams did not have good on tight
Jared
end
Cook,
position.
CJ Uzoma.
hey, CJ is a great locker room guy though. So I don't know. I just look at it as Burrow already has 2 playoff wins. He's in a conference championship in his second year with a team that doesn't have as much supporting cast, I should say. I don't want to say as talented of a supporting cast because I think Jamar Chase could potentially be the best player that's not the quarterbacks between the two teams. You could maybe argue Derwin James, but there's much more depth on the Chargers side, I'll say that. And Burrow has 2 playoff wins. Herbert hasn't seen the playoffs yet. So, and if it's on coaching, tell me how good Zach Taylor is.
It's not on coaching. The only thing it's on coaching is that stupid timeout to try to get yourself a way to win the game. Just take the time, move on, Brandon Staley.
Mm-hmm.
He's never going to live that one down.
No, he's not.
Well, I'll let you guys talk about San Francisco at Green Bay if you want. This was the one where I was trying to fall asleep to because it just was not exciting for me. It got a little bit more amped up towards the end where, Robbie Gould had to nail the game-winning field goal to put San Francisco ahead 13-10, but during most of the game, I was out of it.
Yeah, we had 4 walk-off scores to end every single game.
Mm-hmm.
This weekend was pretty cool. So this one was a Robbie Gould field goal, as you mentioned. It was definitely a slower game. The Packers opening drive touchdown. After that, pretty much nothing. Like they couldn't get anything done, and it was just back and forth. Bad play. Jimmy Garoppolo looked terrible, and I saw some stupid stat. Jimmy Garoppolo is 9-2 when he throws 0 touchdowns in his career, and is 3-0 in the playoffs, throwing 0 touchdowns.
Legend.
How do you get any luckier with your supporting cast than that? That's just absurd.
That speaks to exactly the team that the 49ers are.
Yeah, yeah. Like it doesn't like if they had a legitimate talented quarterback, they would be best team in the league if that's the way they're playing. Like it's stupid.
It's too bad they don't have that in their system.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
they do.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, that's the
Jimmy
crazy
Garoppolo?
thing. Yeah, no.
Is Nick Mullins still there?
Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen.
Oh, Josh Rosen.
Debo Samuel is
that's
the
true.
all-purpose player. He's going to start playing quarterback next year. But anyway, yeah, Jimmy G didn't look good, but the 49ers move on, and I truly believe they're going to have a rough time this upcoming week.
Yeah, it was a complete and utter meltdown on special teams for the Packers. They had a blocked field goal. They had a blocked punt.
Mm-hmm.
They allowed huge chunks when they were on kickoffs and punts. And not only that, they had 10 men on the field for the game-winning kick.
How embarrassing.
You're just throwing it.
How
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Very.
The special teams coordinator needs to go just because of that save face, but at the same time, there needs to be a lot more hate on Matt LaFleur.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not see that as the head coach? You are the puppet master. You are overseeing everything, special teams, offense, defense, everything. If you're having that big of a meltdown, you got to at least make sure you have the right number of players on the field in the final play. Like, that's just a joke.
So ugly. And this added on with the Cincinnati game was the first time since 2010 that both number 1 seeds lost in the divisional round. So let's go San Fran. Let's go Cincinnati.
There we go. The underdog stories continue, and we'll let you know if we think they'll continue into the Super Bowl in just a little bit when we get to our predictions. But the LA Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the game started off super slow. Well, for the Bucs, that is. Overall competition, it was a runaway for the Rams. And then you hit the fourth quarter, and Tom Brady reignited himself, and a bunch of craziness went on. I mean, throwing the touchdown to Mike Evans to make it a one-score game. And then you have Cam Akers trying to run out the clock, and he fumbles the ball, gives it back to Tampa Bay. Tampa goes down and scores. Playoff Lenny looked great all game. And sure enough, Matty Stafford, the old Detroit Lion, does exactly what he has done for Detroit many of times. He throws a Hail Mary, gets the team in position for that game-winning field goal.
Little homage to his past. I can't remember. I always forget how they're playing in this game, but when he's with the Lions and threw the big Hail Mary, then he's yelling at the team, so they can clock it, so you can line up and clock it. Then he just does the goal line sneak instead.
Cowboys, 2013.
It's Cowboys. That's right. So it's kind of similar to that. That type of circumstance. Obviously, they didn't get to the goal line, so he couldn't do the QB sneak. But regardless, still electric, still great. Happy for Matt Stafford. I don't know how you can't be for a guy that is very clearly talented and did not deserve to have the horrible just group of misery that he had for the first 12 years of his career. Every season, the Lions just continually disappointed. Now he's with a good football team, and he looks pretty good so far in the playoffs with the Rams. Last week, sure, maybe was like 80% good. This week I thought he was pretty damn perfect. Like I have really no complaints about his game. Looked awesome. So if he can keep that rolling, he's got a real chance of fighting for Super Bowl here.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned that the Bucs had a slow first half, really slow, and I want to speak on that. They were down 27-3 at half. 27-3, and it's like
the only issue it wasn't 28-3.
That's right.
That's
that's exactly what it reminds you of.
Yeah.
It's like as he's coming back, it's like he's doing it again. He's doing it
It
again.
can't happen again.
And then they tie it up, and it's like, wow, Tom, what are you doing? And then of course the real GOAT, Stafford, had to go out there and shred him with Cooper. But the reason Tom Brady was able to come back from that deficit was because the Rams fumbled the ball, or they turned it over 4 times. 4 times.
Can't be doing that.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I wanted to say this. I saw a lot of people online saying, oh, Cam Akers, he's playing so great, looking awesome. He was 24 for 48 with 2 fumbles. Like, sure, he might have looked okay, but at the end of the day, the production was horrendous.
Right.
Horrible.
I talked to Mike over Twitter when I put out my game picks, and Mike was saying, never doubt the GOAT, because I had picked. I think I had picked the Bucs, but I had also said I was nervous about it because Tampa Bay's O-line had been injured. Tristan Wirfs didn't play,
Right.
and the Rams' defensive line was on fire. And another thing was that the Bucs, have had not so great run defense outside the tackles. And Cam Akers, I was saying, Cam Akers could have the game of his career as a Ram. That didn't happen, but they still won. And now Stafford has more playoff wins in 8 days than the Lions have had since 1958.
Yeah, we know, Graham.
I don't know why I brought that up. It's just hurting me, but it's an interesting.
The Lions
stat,
fans, the
nonetheless.
2 Lions fans, are just finding a way to hurt the Lions any chance they can get right now.
They've earned it.
Yeah, historically.
I really want to know what Johnny was thinking, because he picked the Rams.
Yeah.
And I told him exactly what I told you on Twitter. I'm like, I'm just not going against the GOAT. Like, Tom Brady finds a way to get it done. And I was watching with my dad and my stepmom, and my stepmom, when they started making this comeback, she's like, there's no way. This MFer isn't doing this again. Like, this is not happening. And they were rooting for the Rams, and she was getting heated because how many times can you do it? Like, it just happens every time. So I'm really curious on what John was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was like, dude, Mike was telling me.
Mike was right.
But Stafford, he was able to get it done, him and Cooper Kupp, and then Matt Gay able to put home that final field goal. And up to that point, the road team were 3-0. Every game was decided by a 4-second remaining game-winning field goal.
Crazy.
It was phenomenal. And I was just thinking, man, I really hope Kansas City and Buffalo gives us something special, because I just want to see more. Man. This Rams-Bucs game was phenomenal towards the end. Can we get something as special?
Well, it's a good thing we didn't get something as special. We got possibly the most special football game I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. How about the kickers this week? Oh, They're on another level.
Right?
Evan McPherson, Robbie Gould, Matt Gay.
You know what's funny is the away kickers were all on fire, but the home kickers weren't.
Yeah,
Mason Crosby got a kick blocked. Harrison Butker missed a field goal and an extra point.
Yeah, rough.
So the away kickers were just killing it.
Randy Bullock, too.
Yeah, Randy Bullock. Let's talk about Buffalo at Kansas City. This one started great, obviously. It was phenomenal. But then when you got into that last 2 minutes, it was like the meme where you see people watching a tennis match. Just two. Because back and forth scoring, 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes. It was an absolutely electric game. Both quarterbacks played fantastic. And we'll talk about how scary that is for AFC teams after we look at this game. But what a phenomenal game. I would probably say the best game I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's in that category for me. But the crazy thing is the biggest takeaway from this game is, do we need to talk about changing the overtime rules? That's the biggest takeaway from possibly the greatest football game I've ever played, like legitimately. That's an issue.
Yeah.
It sucks it has to end this way. You can say, well, defense is part of the game, special teams is part of the game. Sure, that's fine. I understand that. But historically, I don't have the numbers, but I know the team that wins the coin toss in overtime is heavily the favorite in overtime. They win the games a heavy amount compared to like what their Vegas odds would be in regulation. So it really is not a great system. I don't know what you do to change it. Maybe you go to a hybrid like college pro style type system. I don't know, but I really think something needs to be changed because I've never been a big fan of this, and it really sucks that Josh Allen can have pretty much another perfect week. Last week he played damn near perfect. Yet again this week did the same thing, and it doesn't matter because the Chiefs can put up 42, and he doesn't get a chance to touch the ball in overtime.
Right. The only mistake that Josh Allen made all night was calling tails.
Yeah.
And definitely, I think we're going to talk about overtime rules in a second.
That also reminds me, going into that coin toss, Josh Allen was 9-0 in coin tosses this year.
Oh my God.
Speaking of 9-0, Josh Allen during the playoffs, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The record in a playoff, little stretch was 11 touchdowns. So he was going to break it if he moved on. Yeah. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
That's crazy because I feel like I've lived my coin toss life through the mantra tails never fails. And I feel like the last 2 games that I remember a coin toss being such a big thing about how the other team won was this game, obviously, and then Chargers-Raiders, who also called tails, and it failed. So I'm really questioning that philosophy now. But speaking on the game itself, I mean, we talked about it. The lead change in the final 2 minutes, 3 times, 25 points scored in 2 minutes. That's absolutely insane. And how about Gabe Davis?
Where does it put him now?
8 receptions, 201 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Are you kidding me?
If you're in fantasy, is he a wide receiver 1 safely for you now, or do you think?
No, shut up. I literally saw
Wide receiver 1 safely.
I felt better when I saw that this was a brand new to Dynasty League, but I saw that Gabriel Davis was traded for the 105 in a super flex. But they said, yeah, we're just a brand new league. We're all new to it. I'm like, okay, so they're still learning values. That's fine. But if that were like a real trade, I would have lost my marbles because that is just absurd.
Let's do it, Chase.
I would do what? Lose my marbles or trade Gabriel Davis?
Trade Gabriel Davis.
I don't have him anywhere. I wanted him. I was hoping.
I could have swore that you would be the person to have him too.
I told Mike I was hoping to wait till the offseason, just like get him when there's not any games going on and we'll be good. But then he has to end the season on this note. I'm not gonna be able to touch him.
No way.
Here's my question. Would you rather give up the 105 for Gabe Davis or Jacoby Myers and a first-round pick for Marquez Callaway?
I think it's an easy pick.
The only saving grace on that second one is that it's a 2024 first.
Alec.
That's the only saving grace, so you have to wait a little longer to reap the reward.
Yeah, another note on this game super quick. Mahomes and Allen each threw for at least 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, completed at least 70% of their passes without an interception, and led their teams with at least 65 yards rushing. No other quarterback in NFL history has accomplished those feats in a game, regular season or postseason, and they both did it in the same game.
That's crazy.
Not too bad.
That's crazy.
I was trying to find the stat because I saw a stat on Twitter the other day about the coin toss and whoever wins it, what's the percentage that they win.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was 15, 17 games that went to overtime, and the team that won the coin toss won every single game except for one.
Yeah, I have it. It's since the NFL changed the overtime rules to the first touchdown wins instead of the first score, there's been 11 overtime coin tosses, and in the playoffs at least.
Right.
And the teams that won are 10-1. So
big advantage there. Well, we talked about how that potentially could be the best game we've ever seen, and that's going to branch off two different topics now. So we'll talk about the overtime changes that we would want to see now, and then after that, we're going to go into the AFC QB discussion to talk about how scary it would be to play up against the likes of Allen and Mahomes just to get to the Super Bowl. So let's start with overtime. Obviously, no one's really a fan that a team can just go down, score a touchdown, and it's over. I didn't mind the overtime rules, a decade ago, but the NFL has evolved so much that you have these monsters like Josh Allen, like Patrick Mahomes, that can go down and score easily. There was 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes. What makes you think that anyone's going to be able to stop either team in overtime? So I didn't mind it. 10 years ago, we're in a different era now. I think it needs to change.
I agree 100%. A rule that I've thought for the last couple of years would make sense is do the college style where, the college overtime, they start from the 25, you alternate possessions, but have the NFL start from the 50. The more talented players, different types of quarterbacks that can make these bigger throws. Let them start from the 50, let them figure it out from there. And at that point, if they keep scoring, then swell, it is what it is. But, at least it's legitimate scoring compared to just starting at the 25, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of thought that when we were talking about what our overtime rule changes would want to be. I thought, watching college this year, I was really excited about it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I kind of thought, is that really football? Is that showing you all aspects of the game? And I didn't think it really did. You're completely taking out special teams in that way. So the kind of thought that I had was we would keep it a 10-minute overtime period. And I would say that the home team starts with the ball because in the playoffs, the seeding allows you to, the better seed you are, you play at home. So it gives you a real advantage in that way in overtime. Both teams are guaranteed a possession. That's the big thing is that, both teams have a chance on offense and defense to make a stop or make a play. And then after the first possessions for each team, then it becomes sudden death. So it's not a huge difference from where we are right now, but at least guarantees that both teams get a chance on offense and defense to go out there and play.
Yeah, so I saw two different suggestions. I'd be curious to see what you guys think of them. If they keep the same overtime rules as they do now, they don't change it, just have the coin toss for the overtime be predetermined so that if teams are going towards the end of the game and it's looking like it's a tie, they got to be more aggressive because they don't want to go into it and let the other team have a chance in overtime. That was one suggestion. Another one I saw was changing the overtime rules, and it was teams will start on their own 35. There's no punting. There's no kicking. You can go for it on fourth down, or else the opponent will get it where you stopped, or you can punt, and the other team will just get it at their own 35. Each team will have a possession, and you have to go for two. So if you score a touchdown, you got to go for two. You make it, you miss it, whatever. The other team gets a chance. And that way, if at the end of all of that, the two possessions, it's still tied, then you go in a sudden death. So I thought both suggestions I liked both of them. I prefer a different overtime rule than, a predetermined coin toss. But if they don't want to change it, I'm fine with a predetermined coin toss too.
Yeah. Another rule that was actually brought up last offseason by the Ravens and the Eagles is a really interesting thing that would really kind of change the way that teams strategize for overtime if they go into it, which was a spot and choose rule. This would make it so that the coin toss would still be in the game, but the coin toss winner would choose to spot the ball or to have the opponent spot the ball, and then whichever team is not the ball spotter would choose whether they want to play offense or defense from that ball spot. So it's a really it's a lot more complicated than the overtime rules that we have right now, but I think it would be interesting. The only thing is I don't know if the offense or if the NFL is willing to give that a shot, just because it's such a huge change from where we are right now.
Yeah, that one interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. The first option of what you said, terrible. The predetermined coin toss, that's stupid.
You're stupid.
But the second option,
I think it was actually the Chiefs that brought it up, that suggested it. But
yeah, the Chiefs wanted to change it after they had
after
their playoff
they,
game against the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the second option is the one that makes the most sense out of those three right there, in my opinion. That one's fine, what you said, Graham, but I don't know, just like it seems a little weird. But, just starting, like making the teams march down the field, at least in some sort of capacity, and, making it so you have to go for two, so it's not just, automatic seven. Like I'm good with that. Just the problem is there's just no like clear-cut solution to any of this.
I think regardless, we are going to see a change because everyone was watching this game. Everyone loved this game and didn't want to see it end the way it did.
Yeah.
I do hope that we don't have like the same exact college rules, because we watched Illinois versus Penn State and they went to like 11 overtimes.
Yeah.
So it got ridiculous.
The only thing that was the first time that's ever happened in college football. That was the longest overtime ever. But the only thing I like was okay with in that one is they changed the overtime rules this year in college, where the scoring is a lot lower. So it's not just apart from the 25 you get 7 points. It was only 2 points. Like, and then eventually after the third overtime you could only go 2-point conversion. So that's why it seemed so long. But so I didn't mind that like that rule, but it definitely does seem weird seeing like 11 overtimes.
I just think if you have Josh Allen and Mahomes going at it in that type of format, like it's not going to end anytime soon.
That'd be awesome.
They'd run it up.
It'd be fun. It'd be fun for the people that like want to watch the game and everything. But you got to think about if people have work and stuff, your ratings are going to start dropping like crazy. You know?
All right, fine. How about this? Start from your own 25. You only get 4 downs to score.
All right.
Big plays only.
Big plays only.
Bengals are going to win that one. So
that'd be fun.
All right. Let's now talk about the AFC quarterback discussion. And I've got a little game for you guys as well, where we're going to discuss if we think these teams should be in the market or not. But let's just start with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. I feel like these 4 guys have cemented themselves at the top of the league. I would say all are probably top 10 quarterbacks at this point.
Yeah.
At least, 2 of them obviously very safely being top 5. So running through the AFC just to get to the Super Bowl, not even to win the Super Bowl, but just to get to there, is going to be extremely difficult for the AFC.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of impossible. I mean, you look at it like Derek Carr with the Raiders. Derek Carr is a quarterback that traditionally you would think you could win with this guy as your quarterback, but then you pin him against literally 9 other AFC quarterbacks. You're like, oh, this guy has no chance. Like that means 7 playoff teams, 2 teams that don't make playoffs, and then you. Like it's a steep hill to climb for these teams that don't have these elite quarterbacks in the AFC. And it's something we saw with the NFC for a couple of years too. There was a lot of top end talent, and the AFC was pretty much just dominated by Tom Brady. That's all it was. So now that we're kind of seeing a changing of the guard, it'll be in the AFC. But regardless, it's fun to see. I think the young talent we have at quarterback nowadays is probably higher than we've ever really seen. This last draft class of all these quarterbacks pan out seems unlikely, but because it just doesn't really work the way. But if they do, you get 5 young quarterbacks that came right into the league like that. Last couple of years, you have more than half the league starting quarterbacks are just these young guys. So it's exciting stuff. Obviously, the AFC is where all the young talent has currently gone. But I do feel bad for like those teams like Derek Carr and the Raiders that just really have no chance.
Yeah, I really like. There's an analogy that I heard before about starting quarterbacks. Are they a truck or are they a trailer? Are they pulling their team to success, or are they being pulled to success? And I think that there are those 4 that you mentioned: Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Herbert. Those are the semi trucks, right? Those are the big. They carry their
Mack
teams.
trucks, baby.
Oh yeah, Mack trucks. And I think there's one other quarterback in the AFC that is a truck, but he's like a pickup truck, right? And that's Lamar Jackson, I think. He is super talented, but I don't think he's on the same tier as those other 4 guys. Outside of that, all the rest of the guys I went through in the AFC are all trailers.
Yeah.
So you got Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr, Mac Jones, Carson Wentz, all these guys, they're all trailers, right? They're not going to carry their teams to success, like you mentioned, Chase. So I think, if you really want to contend, there's only one team left in the playoffs with what I would say is a trailer, and that's Jimmy G and the Niners. Mm-hmm. And that's just because they play a completely different way than a huge majority of teams in the NFL. They are a run-heavy team, which is weird because that's what the Ravens were when they went to the playoffs. But now they've kind of moved. Lamar Jackson has, I think, more passing yards this season than he has in his whole career, and less rushing yards even.
When your number one running back is Devontae Freeman, you kind of got no choice.
Number one running back is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Okay.
True.
Yeah. The number one running back is Lamar Jackson. Then you got running backs 2, 3, 4, and 5 is empty. Then running back 6 is Devontae Freeman.
Right. Yeah. Once J.K. Dobbins comes back, I'm sure that they will move a lot more into being a really strong run-heavy team. But yeah, from my perspective, there's only one other truck, and that's Lamar Jackson. So if you have any of the trailers and you're not a super powerful rushing team, you're going to really, really struggle to keep up with these guys.
Mm-hmm. I want to see Trace McSorley get the time in Baltimore.
Ooh, let's go.
If anybody would, it would be frickin' was it Tyler Huntley? That's his name?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I wanted to go back and just think 5 years ago. Okay, put yourself in 2016, our graduating year. You were still in high school.
6 years ago.
The 2016 season, dumbass.
Okay, he's triggered. Wow.
And so we're put back there, and Patrick Mahomes, he just gets drafted, but he doesn't get playtime because Alex Smith is still there. He didn't play in his first year. You got Mitch Trubisky coming out of the draft, being the number 2 overall pick.
Let's go.
You've got Deshaun Watson in a solid rookie campaign. But then you look back and you're like, okay, Carson Wentz, he's looking pretty good, but not excellent. Jared Goff, he's really struggling. Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, they're not really getting it done. What are we going to do in the future? We don't have quarterbacks to look forward to. We grew up with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, you can even put in there. We grew up with legends. And now there's just no future, at least from our point of view. We fast forward, and I could argue that the generation growing up right now might have more exciting quarterback play and better quarterback play than what we grew up with, which is crazy to think about because all of these guys are Hall of Famers. I mean, Tom Brady, Hall of Famer, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Big Ben, like Drew Brees. There's so many Hall of Famers, but right now the quarterback play is so high.
I don't think there's anything to argue. I don't think you need to argue that it's going to be better right now going
See,
forward.
that's a hot take, though.
I really don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people will think so.
Okay, it's because people get set in the old ways so easily, especially old people that are like 10 years plus older than us. They're like, oh, the good old days, we were the best. But, people aren't willing to accept change and realize that things can get better and progress, in the younger generations and the newer generations. And this generation of quarterbacking is our generation.
Just go ahead. Tell old people they suck.
Old people, you suck, I guess.
Right? What is that? Jeez.
Wow. Sorry, all of our elderly listeners. Yeah, I think you made a really good point there that, from like 2013, 2012 was the last really good year that we had some great rookies. You had Andrew Luck and RG3. Mm-hmm. But after that, 2013 to like 2017 to a degree, because you had Mahomes and D Watts, were really not promising, no doubt about it. But since then, 2018, you had Josh Allen. Baker Mayfield was exciting in his rookie year. But since then, we've had a lot of really, really, really exciting guys coming out. Despite whatever their draft stories are, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like Josh Allen, who was completely way better. He started off not too strong, but then he took an incredible step. And Justin Herbert as well coming out. these guys are insane. And I think even this last rookie draft with Trevor Lawrence, he had a struggling rookie year, but he showed stuff in the last game that makes you think, all right, this is the Trevor Lawrence that we saw in college. You got Trey Lance, who's trash, but
Right.
True.
Yeah,
maybe he'll be a journeyman or something. Justin Fields, exciting. Mac Jones, way better than we thought he was going to be, I think, at least for me. Kellen Mond, the GOAT.
Elite.
The GOAT.
Kyle Trask going to be taken over for the GOAT and become the new GOAT.
Yeah. Davis Mills actually did way, way, way better than we thought for the Texans.
He's probably
That's
the best rookie
crazy.
quarterback. He legitimately is probably the best rookie quarterback this year.
So,
All right.
a lot of exciting guys.
I want to hop into this little game here. I might know all of Graham's answers because of what he talked about 5 minutes ago, but we'll see.
Okay.
So we're going to go through the AFC teams. You're going to put your spot. You're going to put yourself in the position of general manager of that team. So you know their defense. You know their coach. You know everything. And you got to tell me if they are in the QB market or not in the QB market. So let's start with the Patriots. They got Bill Belichick, one of the best coaches out there. You got a young quarterback in Mac Jones. Right now, this year, are you in the quarterback market after seeing what some of these powerhouses like the Bills and Chiefs can do?
No,
Okay. Miami with Tua.
obviously. Should have been in the QB market when they drafted him.
I disagree. I don't think that you are. I think depending on your coach that comes in, I guess it depends on the coach that comes in. If the coach likes him, they're going to keep him. They're not going to be in the QB market. Obviously, Brian Flores didn't like Tua, but he's out. So I think Tua has the talent, and he showed good things this year.
How many trailers can succeed in the NFL? Jimmy G is like really the only one that's having the success so far.
That's true, but if we're going to say Mac Jones is
Mac Jones is closer to a truck than Tua is.
I'd say they're about similar. Mac Jones is a little bit ahead, I think, but I think they are similar.
I will forever be the Tua doubter.
That's fine.
Forever
There you
will
go.
be.
That's fine.
We need to get a snippet of John coming in here.
Yeah.
Just get his face on the
GOAT.
screen. I think he would love that and
Yeah,
see what he
He'd
thinks.
be very happy.
The New York Jets, should they be in the quarterback market?
100%.
No.
Zach Wilson was terrible.
Doesn't
Terrible.
matter.
I heard no and 100%. So
It doesn't
Jason
matter.
Aaron.
You don't move on from the second overall pick after a year. You have to give him another year of development at least.
Oh, Mitchell Trubisky.
we're going to skip.
Bad.
We've learned that Mitchell Trubisky should maybe be a starter because it was very clear that the Bears were killing everything, not Mitchell Trubisky.
So here's the thing. Maybe Josh Allen isn't that good then. And Mitch Trubisky is just better because of the system.
That's true.
That made no sense at all.
System quarterback.
All right, let's skip the Steelers because Big Ben is retiring. Dwayne Haskins, no. Cleveland with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, obviously.
Yes.
It's done.
Baltimore with Lamar.
No.
Nope.
You think he can get it done against these teams?
He's a pickup truck.
Okay. Let's go with the Titans and Ryan Tannehill.
I mean, Ryan Tannehill entered college as a wide receiver. He should change back to wide receiver.
Well, Zach Taylor came out and said he came in as an athlete and was never going to be a wide receiver. Or something.
Yeah, I know, but like wide receiver was his like main position in high school. Like he played some quarterback too, but like he played wide receiver a pretty good amount. So yeah, I think he should go back to wide receiver.
I think that they should not be in the quarterback market. I think Ryan Tannehill did good enough. They were the 1 seed. So
He did good enough. You're expecting terrible quarterback play. Yeah, I know that's a good point.
This is the one I'll chime in on. I don't see how the Titans get any farther than where they're at right now. Like,
Agreed.
yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry had a really tough game against the Bengals. He was 20 rushes for like 62 yards.
here's the question: why didn't they continue with Foreman?
I don't know.
He was 4 for 66.
Yeah,
looked
Foreman
like-
was
he
the
looked better.
way better
Yeah.
running back.
So not sure what was happening there.
Weird.
All right, Colts. They just gave up first to get Carson Wentz. Should they be back in the quarterback market already?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they field options, but I think that you can still stick with Carson for another season.
You cannot. Like he's terrible. He's so bad.
He was decent at points, but he definitely had low lows.
His high game was decent quarterback play. His low, his floor was, why is this guy signed to an NFL contract?
I'm with you to a degree. I don't think that his best game was decent quarterback play.
All right. Now let's get a video of Chris in here. He's gonna,
right.
Chris is going to agree with me on this one.
Houston Texans. Now remember, you still have Deshaun Watson under contract. You got Davis Mills. Should we be looking for a quarterback?
No, Davis Mills, even coming out, was like, all right, you're going to draft this guy. He was a bit of a late bloomer in college, but everyone likes these tools. It seems unlikely, but there's a chance he can hit. And he played pretty well as a rookie, so you got to see what you got.
I think you are definitely in the market because there's just a million question marks in that quarterback room. You know, Deshaun Watson made it very clear he does not want to come back. That might change if they hire Brian Flores, for example. But Davis Mills, he showed good things, but he wasn't elite. I think Mac Jones probably played the best as a rookie, even though he wasn't super exciting. But I think you definitely, as the Texans, have to look around and see what your options are because you don't have a truck quarterback. You don't.
Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence.
No, you got to keep him.
Yep.
Okay.
No comment.
You had, like, it's... He didn't look great, but at least he finished the season strong.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, especially with, you're keeping Zach Wilson around, so it would be stupid to keep him and not keep Trevor Lawrence.
We can't just so easily forget after a tough rookie campaign with a terrible team.
Don't bash Chase's favorite head coach
and a terrible head coach.
No, don't bash it.
Darrell Bevel.
Legend.
But he was the best quarterback prospect coming out since Andrew Luck. So, you got to give that guy another chance. They're not in the market.
Las Vegas Raiders with Derek Carr. He had a good season this year until, towards the end, he kind of fell off. But
see, we have the Andy Dalton scale, the pass. Now we have the Derek Carr scale for playoff quarterbacks is what I think it is. I think Derek Carr is a little higher than Andy Dalton was. So, like, Andy Dalton was just right there kind of dividing those top tier and bottom tier, where there's still some good enough quarterbacks below Derek Carr. But Derek Carr is, like, the true, just, if you're above here, you're a playoff quarterback. If you're below here, you're not. And if you're Derek Carr, you're just screwed.
Yeah.
I think that's where it stands. So, if that's the case, you got to move on.
Yeah, I think that they could very easily stick with him for another season or two. But like Chase said, I think if you want to compete with these AFC like powerhouses, you've got to find something else outside of Derek Carr.
Or they just move to the NFC. Might give them some better odds.
it's true. I'm curious.
No.
Where do you put Kirk Cousins on your Derek Carr scale?
I have Kirk Cousins as literally the next quarterback behind Derek Carr. Like, literally my rankings. I said Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins are very similar quarterbacks. Like, I said this a couple days ago. I think I might have said on Bolt's broadcast. Or I feel like, or maybe I was just talking to you individually. I was talking to somebody, and I said these are two very similar quarterbacks, but I give the edge to Derek Carr.
Gotcha. I'm not sure. I don't usually listen to you, so.
Oh, okay.
Finally, the Denver Broncos. That's probably a pretty tough one for you guys.
They need to be
Kendall
in the quarterback market.
Hinton is starting quarterback for the future.
There we go. Actually, I want to do one more. It's not in the AFC, but I'm very curious. The Eagles.
I thought you were going to say the Lions.
Yeah, I still don't think Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback. His throwing is not good at all.
For the sake of my fantasy team, no.
Okay. I knew we were going to have a disagreement. That's why I had to bring it up. All right, well, that's going to be it for our AFC quarterback discussion. Now, conference championships. You got Cincinnati at Kansas City, San Francisco at the LA Rams. We'll start with the AFC Conference Championship because that is the freaking first game that's going to be on, which I think is dumb because I think it's going to be the better game. But, hey, what do I know? Kansas City favored by 7 points. Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes going to be firing at each other, hopefully at a similar rate as that Buffalo-KC game. I think the most underrated weapon out of both of these teams, Money McPherson.
Money. Icy kicker.
Shooter.
Icy kicker.
Shooter.
Yeah,
Love that.
he is.
Can we get a soundbite of that for the
Should.
future?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
He is 11 of 13 on 50-plus yard field goals this season. He is perfect in the playoffs so far. Phenomenal weapon for the Bengals. And then him and Joe Burrow, just the moxie that they bring together. I don't know if you saw, you probably did, but when Evan McPherson was walking out to take that final kick, he looks at Joe Burrow and says, Well, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
So, what do we think about this matchup? It's, again, Kansas City favored by 7. Do we feel like this is kind of an obvious winner, or are we feeling this will be competitive?
You know, I just want to say, Mike, if you think it's really a better game, why is the spread so large compared to the other one?
That's a good point.
But this should be a pretty good game. I do think this is going to be the better of the two. I think that the spread between the Niners and Rams should be larger. I know it's not because of Kyle Shanahan's history against Sean McVay. He kind of owns him. Like, he's literally his
6-0.
Yeah. So I understand that, but aside the point, this should be a pretty good AFC matchup. Either one of these teams, I would be, like it would create for a very good Super Bowl matchup as long as we're playing the Rams. Like, it doesn't matter if it's the Bengals or the Chiefs. It should still be a pretty good game. This is going to be a tough one for the Bengals to win. It really is. They beat the Chiefs once. It's hard to beat a team twice in the same year, especially someone that you don't see twice a year on average. Division opponent's a little different than a non-division opponent. It's not going to be easy. But if you're going to have faith in one team to do it, it would be the Bengals based on how they've played so far in these playoffs.
Yeah, I think that the entire country of the United States, outside of Missouri and maybe some adjacent states, are rooting for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but like Chase said, it's an incredibly tough matchup, especially with the Chiefs' momentum from the last game. They were on fire. Their offense was, especially in the back half of that game, and the Bengals' offensive line got worked.
Mauled.
Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times, and they still won, which is really impressive. But I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how you fix that coming into this game.
Piggybacking off of Graham's statement of everyone outside of that little area of Missouri and Kansas maybe rooting for Mahomes, or rooting for Burrow, whatever. But honestly, like, there might be Chiefs fans. I know at least a whole section of Chiefs fans that are about to be rooting for Joe Burrow. The ones that got soaked in champagne.
Yeah.
It's like, I think Mahomes is really awesome, and it's easy to root for him specifically.
Yeah.
But his family
The
is
worst. Worst.
It's hard to like them. That's for sure.
It really is. But can I ask this question really quick?
Of course you can.
Well, I'll say unfortunately I went 33-30 for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be a close game. I think Cincinnati covers regardless. But my question is Cincinnati the swaggiest team of all time?
It's definitely got to be asked. I mean, you look at Joe Burrow, how much swag he brings. I mean, everyone knows the infamous LSU video with the cigar.
Yeah.
Now there's a video of him with a cigar doing the shooter. So, I don't know. They got some mean gritties on the team too.
They're fun.
When I look at the pass game, the Bengals won 34-31. The Chiefs put up 28 in the first half, only able to muster 3 in the second half. The Bengals are known to be a second half team, but if they start slow, there's no way they beat the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a very close game. Well, I'll say this. It'll either be a close game towards the end where either team can win, or it's going to be a Chiefs blowout. I do not see there any chance to be a Bengals blowout.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I am very excited for this game. Chase, we know Grant's prediction, 33-30 for the Chiefs. What are you going with? You haven't picked against the Bengals all year, even against the Chiefs in Week 17.
Let's go,
And
What are we thinking?
I've been more right than wrong, haven't I?
Uh-oh.
This is a tough decision. But who would I be to change my trends from the season? Let's go Cincinnati Bengals.
Let's go.
30-27.
I am going with my team. A lot of the times during the season, I'd go against them because I just didn't trust them. But I don't know. I guess if my heart breaks, then it breaks. But I want to go all in with them on this run. So I'm going with the Bengals as well.
Man.
I'm going to go You guys have some pretty good scores, I'm not going to lie.
Thank you.
Let's go even higher, though. Let's go a 37-35 game.
I feel bad that I'm not on with the Bengals. I feel like I want to switch.
Hey,
over.
I think maybe next week you're going to be coming in here just all swag, be like, hey, who called the Chiefs? And we're going to be like, okay, Graham. Cool, whatever.
I won't be happy though. I put a sad face next to my score prediction. I don't want that to happen.
See, I'd rather the Bengals win this game too. I really want to see, just because of Mahomes' family, I want to see the Chiefs get murdered. I really do. But like Graham might be in the good boat here, where he'll be happy if the Bengals win, or he'll be happy he got his pick right.
See, that's what
true.
I was thinking about putting money on the Chiefs, because if the Chiefs win, at least I make money. If the Bengals win, I'm totally fine paying $20 to see a Bengals win.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel that.
So, let's move on to the NFC Championship. This between the San Francisco 49ers and the LA Rams. The 49ers are 2-0 against the Rams this season. Kyle Shanahan versus Sean McVay has heavily favored Kyle Shanahan. Are we going to find that magic again with Matthew Stafford, or does he go back to his turnover ways we saw in the regular season that especially plagued him against the San Francisco 49ers defense?
So, I just mentioned 4 minutes ago, it's hard to beat a team twice the same year, except for non-divisional opponents. Well, it's hard to beat any team 3 times in the same year, regardless of who the hell they are. The Rams, I think, are going to safely win this game. I don't think it's going to be that close.
I thought you were going to say slaughter. I'm not going to lie.
I actually agree.
I think it's closer to slaughter than 3-point win. I don't think the Niners have a chance to cover. I really don't. I think they've run out of their luck, where the Rams magic seems to just be kind of sparking up and heating up a little bit, because there wasn't because even the Cardinals team, they didn't have a ton of magic. The Cardinals were just so bad that they were able to get by. Where the Rams are kind of sparking at the right time. I think this could be. I think there's a chance this could be a steamroll, but it'll be at least a safe win, where the Rams are going to win by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, OBJ has come out in these past couple games and been a really steady target for Stafford. And you also have Cooper Kupp, who is MVP level wide receiver. I wouldn't say he's my MVP, but he is MVP level. So I think I agree with you that the Rams are going to win by a good margin. My pick, if I can start it off, is 27-17 Rams.
Okay. See, I hate this because it's only been, we're recording on a Tuesday. It's only been 1 day since the conference championships, and I'm already seeing Kansas City, LA, Super Bowl. I can't wait. And obviously I'm pissed because I'm a Bengals fan, but also I feel for the Niners. They're 2-0 against the Rams. Why are we just doubting them? And they took out the Packers, who I personally thought was the most dangerous team in the playoffs. So I don't want to go against them because I'm in a similar position with my Bengals. However, I have to. I'm going the Rams as well.
Let's go.
I think I'm going to go a 24-13.
30-21.
Wow.
Wow. You think Jimmy G can muster that many points?
I think yet again he has 0 touchdowns.
Let's go.
I think they get a defensive touchdown. Deebo Samuel is rushing, and Elijah Mitchell is rushing.
I want to call it right now. JaMychal Hasty is going to be the big man in San Fran.
Would you guys be...
No.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at power rankings too, because they rank these 4 teams. The Bengals were 4 and the Chiefs were 1 in all the rankings I saw. Do you think it'd be more shocking, though, to see the 49ers beat the Rams than it would be the Bengals or the Chiefs? Or do you agree that a Bengals victory over the Chiefs would be more shocking?
I think a 49ers win over the Rams would be more shocking to me.
I think it's either way. It's the same level. I don't think there's any difference, and no matter who wins, loses. I think it's. I would expect all 4 of these teams to have a semi-fair chance. The Bengals 49ers might have an equal chance compared to their opponents, where the Chiefs and Rams have the better chance. But I don't think there's a bigger gap between Bengals Chiefs or Rams 49ers.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about it on last episode that the Bengals 49ers being those underdogs that no one wants to face. They're going on that miracle run. They've made it to the conference championships. We just told you if we think these teams will continue on into the Super Bowl. So it's going to be a good one. I'm excited for the week.
I just really don't want to see the 49ers in the Super Bowl, to be honest.
I would be okay with the Bengals 49ers just because
you feel better about it.
Well,
the
also
Bengals could win.
Also, the Bengals played the 49ers both times they lost the Super Bowl.
Let's
get our redemption.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of fancy.
Nice.
The only way I want to see the 49ers in there is if Jimmy G gets the bench and Trey Lance goes out there
the Super Bowl
and just throws dimes.
Trey Lance versus Joe Burrow.
That'd be great.
That'd be pretty fun.
I would be glued to the couch, not moving. I'd have a bedpan to pee in. I would be watching every second of the game.
Don't you have one already?
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, man. It's going to be a really good week. I'm excited. Hussein's Live It Up, the Chell song.
Airborne.
I listen to that song every morning the Bengals are coming on. At least I have been since the playoffs have started. So
Hypes you up.
Gonna be continuing
luck
my
charm.
tradition.
You need to check out that song, Graham. It's elite.
It is
What
really
is it
good.
called?
It's Live It Up by Airborne.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
So
listen to it.
that's gonna do it for the show, though. Any final remarks you want to throw in, like a hoo day or shooter or anything like?
Who dat?
There we
Who
go.
day? Bengals Rams Super Bowl.
I'd love to see it.
That I definitely hope that's the case.
There we go. Everyone's rooting against the Chiefs. No one likes Jackson Mahomes or Patrick
Except for
Mahomes'
Graham.
girlfriend.
Graham
Wife.
picks Chiefs.
Wife or girlfriend?
Why do I like the Chiefs?
I think they're engaged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beyonce.
You chose the Chiefs.
I did.
You're rooting for them.
unfortunately,
You're the biggest Chiefs fan I know.
Really?
I don't know any other Chiefs fans.
I'm not a Chiefs fan, so I don't know where that's coming from.
All right, well, that'll do it for the show. We want to thank you so much for coming out and giving us a listen. If you want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can follow us on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. That's, again, on Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. We also have a Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Those links, as well as the Twitter link, will be down in the description below. If you're listening on YouTube, or watching on YouTube, I should say, if you could please give us a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell to turn on notifications. We would really appreciate that. And put down in the comments who your prediction is for the Super Bowl. I'd love to know. Finally, if you're listening on a podcast platform, if you could please give us a follow and a 5-star rating. 5-star rating. We would really appreciate that. Thanks so much for listening. And as always, we're not professionals.